Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Girivaradari, Gopi Janavalabha, Jaya Girivaradari, Gopi Janavalabha, Jaya Girivaradari, Jaya Girivaradari, Gopi Janavalabha, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Braja Janaranjana, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Braja Janaranjana, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Braja Janaranjana, Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Tiravanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Tiravanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Hari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava, Hari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-hare, Krishna, Rama, Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today is the appearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we'll try to speak a bit about him. It's gonna be a challenge, but let's try anyway. Okay. Okay. Krishna, Krishna. Yes, yes. Okay, so let's see what we can say about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. We are all here in ISKCON because we have Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is coming as a representative of long disciplic succession. This disciplic succession starts from Krishna, of course. 5,000 years ago, Krishna came on this planet and he gave some instructions in the form of Bhagavad Gita. And then 500 years ago, we had Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself also. He came and he gave us the process of chanting Hare Krishna. And he gave us the vision of expanding this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world, in every town and village. And since Slovenia is a lot of villages, probably this applies. Just joking. After you have Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and on when Bhaktivinoda Thakur came, it's quite interesting to know that Gaudiya Vaishnavism was not very well seen. It was so it's not very. If you would say that you're a Vaishnava, they would say, "Oh my God, this is a crazy guy." And this was because at that point Vaishnavism was mixed with many things. There was many strange tendencies, sometimes even breaking some regulative principles introduced in Vaishnavism. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur put Vaishnavism in a more or less respectable position, and he tried to clarify what Vaishnavism really is, and and after he has done this, of course, he was thinking, how will this tradition continue? Because you do something, you spread Krishna consciousness, but then you're preoccupied. How will this continue after my disappearance? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying to Krishna for someone to continue his mission. This is quite important. And then, of course, he has many children, and one of them is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He was born in 6th of February 1874. So this means some time ago. 149 years, 150 almost. There are some incidents that we can say about from his childhood, from the childhood of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Once there was a big Ratha Yatra in Jagannath Puri, and they were living there. And at some point, the Ratha Yatra cart stopped, and it was right in front of the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And his wife took the child, and he said, "Oh, special opportunity." And she brought the baby Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj to the chariot, and then he extended his arms at his lotus feet, the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very important personality in Jagannath Puri, so they would allow him to do that. And then a garland fell from Lord Jagannath. So this is indicating the exalted personality Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj is quite from early age. And then there's also the famous incident of the unoffered mango. At some point, the child Bhaktisiddhanta, he ate a mango, which was not offered to Krishna. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur was like, why you don't offer? And mildly chastise him. You should offer to everything you eat to Krishna. So from that day on, because he felt he was very offensive in eating this mango, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj never ate a mango in his whole life. That's one of the things. One interesting thing is about his initiation. Of course, he was being the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was taught by his father how to chant Hare Krishna, but it's somehow the culture that the father doesn't initiate the son. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur instructed him to approach Gorakishore Das Babaji, who is a great Mahabhagavata, but he's more in a mood of Bhajananandi. So he got this instruction from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he approached Gorakishore Das Babaji, and Gorakishore Babaji said, "No." "Can I take initiation from you?" "No, I'm a Babaji. I don't give initiation to anyone." So he was quite disappointed. And then after some time he came back and he said, my father instructed me to get initiation from you. Can you give me initiation? And Gorakishore Das Babaji said, "I will ask Mahaprabhu. I will ask Lord Chaitanya if I should do it or not." And then after a few days, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj came back and says, "Did you ask Lord Chaitanya?" I said, "Oh, no, I forgot." Gorakishore Das Babaji was very, because he was so humble, he didn't want to accept any disciples. So then after a few days, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj comes again and he says, can you initiate me? He says, what did Lord Chaitanya said? He said that I shouldn't initiate you. I'm sorry. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was quoting some verse from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which says that if you are not merciful to me, I will simply weep and I will not be able to maintain my life. So then Gorakishore Das Babaji said, okay, you convinced me. You're quite serious about it. So eventually Gorakishore Das Babaji accepted to initiate him. One other interesting part from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's life is that he took a vow to chant 1 billion holy names. This means quite a lot. There's a vow to chant 3 lakhs. 3 lakhs means 64 rounds is 1 lakh. Yeah. So he was chanting 192 rounds every day. And this vow took him more than 9 years. He was chanting the whole day, and he just made a little hut, and the roof was not so good. And when it was raining, he would just take an umbrella and continue chanting. Quite determined. You can imagine, if the roof is and it starts raining inside, that you're like chanting, and then water is pouring down, and you just get an umbrella and continue chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So very okay. But and one interesting thing which is said, that even when he had this vow, which for at our rate it takes like 16 hours to chant that number of rounds every day. But when he was doing this, and he was also writing, preaching, and doing some service to the Dham. I don't know how he did it, but so he still had time to do some service. 10 hours. Yeah, probably. Average. Okay. One interesting incident. The caste brahmanas had a very strong position at that time in Bengal, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was speaking openly about. He was very challenging the position of the caste brahmanas, and because the caste brahmanas were claiming that because they were born in Brahminical family, it's only their right to become gurus. So there was some reaction, and then the caste brahmanas were agitated, and it came to a challenge. Like, okay, let's discuss Shastra. Let's see. We put the Shastra, we get the Shastras, and we find quotes from the Shastra, and see what's this. And so they had a 3-day meeting to discuss the position of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was expected to be the main speaker, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur had some health problems. It says severe rheumatism. He couldn't attend. This is also a very interesting point, like why you have these so exalted personalities, and they're actually not born in respectable families. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not born in a Brahminical family, and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he was also not born, of course, the same family. So he was also not born in a Brahminical family, and you can think, why is that? Like why? And because Krishna can put them in any family. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains that this is so ordinary people would feel that they have a chance also. This is very interesting. Actually, at some point I met one person, and this person was quite when this person found out our rules and our standards, was like, oh my God, this is too much. And then somehow, by some arrangement, I told this person about my life before Krishna consciousness. And then this person was very encouraged. He was like, oh, this means it's possible. I mean, if you were such a rascal. It wasn't like that. He didn't say like that. But that was the idea, like if you were such a rascal before, then it's possible for me also. Of course, the Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was born in a very exalted family, actually. But that's the idea. And it's explained that many of these very elevated souls get born in not so elevated families, just to show us that it's more relatable. You know, like we can also become elevated. It doesn't matter so much in which family you are born. It's very nice. So they had this meeting, and there was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur realized that he cannot go to that meeting, and so he was in desperation, who will represent the Vaishnavas, because like you put on a big challenge, and then the others respond and say, okay, we're gonna have a death match, philosophical death match, and then you're like, oh, you cannot go. So, oh my God, this is really heavy. So Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says, no problem, I will go. So he wrote a very nice essay about comparison between Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So there was this nice meeting, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was the first speaker, and he started glorifying the position of the Brahmanas. And he was quoting from the Shastra, this Shastra, the other Shastra. And the Brahmanas were like, ha! he was glorifying them better than they could have glorified themselves, like he was like, yeah, that's it. Tell me more about myself. And then when they were very happy with that, he started glorifying the Vaishnavas and put this quote, this quote, this quote, and he showed very, very clear that it doesn't matter what birth you took. If you follow the Vaishnava culture, then you're a Vaishnava, and then you're more exalted than the Brahmanas. If you follow. So, because Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was so learned, they had nothing to say because it was clear. So that was the end of this. One of the interesting things about the Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was that he was also criticizing a lot. He was he didn't just say the positive part. He also said the negative. And this is something which applies also in our times, because also Srila Prabhupada was preaching in the same way. And sometimes this can become very unpopular even among devotees, like why so much energy is put into criticizing that guru, the other guru? Why don't you just speak positive philosophy? And then Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj has some quotes from him where he's explaining why this is the most effective, that you say the positive message, but you also expose the falsity. As he says, the positive method by itself is not the most effective method of propaganda in a controversial age like the present. The negative method, which seeks to differentiate the truth from non-truth in all its form, is even better calculated to convey the directly inconceivable significance of the Absolute. So the idea of criticizing is to clarify what is proper and what is not proper. It's not the idea is not to criticize some person. The idea is to make it clear. Okay, this is proper behavior. This is not proper behavior. This is according to the Shastra. This is not according to the Shastra. He says further, it is a necessity which cannot be conscientiously avoided by the dedicated preacher of the truth if he wants to be a loyal servant of Godhead. He says it's something you cannot avoid. That's the idea. if you want to preach, you have to do both. You have to say this is the positive thing, but you have to also say, oh, look, this is not proper. This. And he finishes. He says that it can become controversial, but he finishes by saying, it is a duty which shall be sacred to all who have been enabled to attain even a distant glimpse of the Absolute. So it's very important for a preacher to say the positive things and also say the negative things. Many times you have many people coming with so many strange ideas. And you have to say, look, this is proper, this is not proper. Finish, like. Srila Prabhupada was also preaching in the same way. There's this interesting example with Dr. Patel, who was very learned, actually, and he would always come for the morning walks. And at some point, Dr. Patel started praising a very famous figure in India. Srila Prabhupada started criticizing him, this person, this famous so-called sadhu, like really heavy. And Dr. Patel was very angry, like, you cannot criticize, this is a sadhu. And then Prabhupada said, many times Prabhupada says this, well, I'm not criticizing, Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying Bhagavad Gita, if you are not surrendered to Krishna, you are a miscreant in one of these 4 categories. Full rascal. So, Srila Prabhupada many times do that. And so they really got into an argument. They were starting to raise the voices and so on, and it was really heavy. And then Dr. Patel just left, and he wanted to leave, and he didn't come for the morning walk for a few days. And then for some time, and then after some time, Dr. Patel found his legs. He was going for the morning walk. He found himself on the beach, where Prabhupada was going for the morning walk, and they said, "Oh, Prabhupada, oh, hey. hi." And then he went to Prabhupada, and he said, "Prabhupada, I'm sorry, but like this is how we are trained, that we are supposed to respect all the sadhus." And Prabhupada said, yes, it's good to respect all the sadhus, but my duty is to say who's a sadhu and who is not a sadhu. So you can respect all the sadhus, but my duty is to say who's a sadhu. So that's somehow practical experience, that if you expose the truth and you make difference between truth and untruth, some people, intelligent people, might be disturbed for some time, but eventually they understand, okay, he's right, what to do. So what? Okay. Yeah, let's go with this. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because of his style of preaching, he was called Lion Guru. He was really heavy. He was always speaking very very powerful. So he had this got him some enemies. That's what happens many times when you preach. You get to have some enemies. And there's quite a few incidents. There's some serious threats. Once they were doing some parikram in Navadvip, and the caste brahmanas, they hired some thieves, thugs, how you call it, and yeah, something like this, yeah. And they really attacked the parikram with stones and bigger stones. And their intention was quite to kill them, to kill. I mean, it was mostly targeted at Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. And it was quite bloody incident. Lots of blood came out, like if someone attacks you with big rocks, it can be heavy. And one of the disciples somehow understood, and they changed dress with Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. So Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was somehow undercover and he escaped. So this was very not so pleasant incident, but actually this turned out very positive in a way. That there was, after this, there was quite some publicity. All the newspapers were speaking about this. And also, when people found out that, this was done by the caste Goswamis, the position of the Vaishnavas was all of a sudden very, very good. Like everyone said, oh my God, this is too much. These are actually nice people. There's something, Tamal Krishna Maharaj tried a similar thing to do I think in London. So they were somehow being harassed by the police, and he was trying to stage themselves being arrested by the police and takes lots of pictures and send them to the newspapers. And then he was counting on the publicity, that all the newspapers will write, all the Hare Krishna persecuted and so on. Usually people don't like people. They tend to be sympathetic to the people who are persecuted. So this but so it turned out very well. And when they asked Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj to press some charges, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, no. They have done us a great favor. So he was very, very fierce when it was about propagating the mission, but also very tolerant and very generous. Like, whatever. You attacked us a bit, no problem. So okay. There's many things to say about Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, so I'll have to pick a few. He was very austere and very rigid in his personal sadhana, but when it comes to preaching, he was very liberal. He was he was known many times. He would be dressed very elegantly. Whenever he would meet these high-profile people, he would dress very, very elegantly, like according to their standards. And no, yeah, a coat, nice shoes. So this was the idea that when you speak with these high-profile people, they tend, at least that was the culture at that point, they tend to take it more seriously if you're properly dressed according to their standards. So he was doing that. There's even a reference that at some point they had some very high-profile guest in their ashram, and to make them comfortable, he made his brahmachari cook some meat preparation. Just so he was quite liberal in doing things for preaching. Of course, we cannot imitate this, but he was doing lots of things which he was very austere, very rigid with his practice, but for preaching he would be very liberal. Very interesting thing. Let's do this and that. His one of his major contribution is, of course, the Brihad Mridanga, the printing press. He had 3 printing presses, and they had also this daily newspaper, and he instructed Srila Prabhupada that it's very important to have books. And he says about book preaching, he called it Brihad Mridanga. He says, when a Mridanga resounds, it invites the people around it. Come to hear the chanting of divine name. Similarly, books go from man to man, house to house, informing people. These things are occurring. Come and join. The sound made by books, however, works more efficiently than the sound made by the Mridanga. So he would call these books Brihad Mridanga, big Mridanga. You have small Mridanga and you have big Mridanga. Okay, his idea was that it's more powerful to give books than to have Mridanga. Of course, like this is the classic dilemma of pizza and ice cream. Do you want pizza or do you want ice cream? So do you want both, of course. It's not that you should just distribute books and Harinam is low class. No, you can have both. Okay, he was so respected that at some point even the governor of Bengal came to visit him. You know, like usually these high-profile people, you have to go to them, and they give you like 15 minutes. And they're like, okay, you have 15 minutes. Go. And then after 15 minutes, they kick you out. They're like, okay, thank you. It was nice to meet you. And but this governor, he went himself to Mayapur. It's very. I don't know where this was, but Srila Prabhupada also was invited by some high-profile personality, and Srila Prabhupada went there, and the secretary of this personality told him that there's some etiquette, you know, that you are in the presence of such an exalted personality, you have to show respect. I don't remember exactly what it was, you know, like that you have to. Yeah, it's something like this, and Prabhupada, and they told this to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said yes, and this person came, and Prabhupada didn't do it, and then he said, Prabhupada, yes. So Prabhupada was not gonna take anything, you know. He was like, look, from spiritual perspective, he should come and bow down to me. So we're not gonna take. So this is very significant, you know, that this mayor, this governor of Bengal, he came to visit Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. No, I'm the big personality. You are the small. You are coming to visit me on my terms. Very important. Okay, it's long, and there's many more. Just final stuff. Of course, when he became 62, his health was declining, and he traveled in October. He traveled back to Calcutta, and he traveled to Puri, and then in December he came back to Calcutta. And in Calcutta, his disciples called some different doctors, different physicians to see about. And there was this physician. He came and he said, he told him, "You have to rest. You cannot speak so much." So what does Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj do? He was preaching to him for a few hours. This guy told you, "Oh, you have to rest." Yes, okay, I will rest. Now, sit down and listen. You are spirit, soul. You have to surrender to Krishna. For hours he was speaking, like he was... And so his mood was that if he couldn't speak about Krishna, then what's the point? Like why should I live more if I cannot speak about Krishna? So yeah, that was his mood. What's the point of staying on this planet if I cannot speak about Krishna anymore? So he was just here to speak about Krishna, and when he can't speak about Krishna, bye. So that's more about... he left on 1st of December 1936. 62, yeah. Okay. That's just a few things. There's probably many more to say about Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. I guess on this kind of lecture there's no questions. Well, it says 1905 he started, which was 31, and it took like more than 9 years, so around 40. Well, he was, of course, he was this very renowned astrologer. He was like, he was known. He was very learned. He was. They would call him a living encyclopedia. He knew everything. I'm not sure when he started with this Gaudiya Math. I think before, but mostly he started full-on preaching after this vow, as far as I understand. Okay. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai.